Okay, so I am so excited to talk about today's topic, how to use Instagram as a dating tool. And the main reason I'm so passionate about it is because I met my husband through Instagram. So I'm a little bit biased towards this way of meeting someone. Also, I know 4 couples personally who met their spouse through Instagram. I even just heard another Instagram meeting story the other day. So the bottom line is there's a ton of amazing people out there in the world, singles looking for somebody that has similar interests and another amazing person. But the problem seems to be, where do you find them? Right? So yes, you know that there must be other singles out there who are awesome, but you might not know which specific coffee shop they hang out at or what they do on a Friday night, or you might not necessarily go to the same church they go to, right? Meeting someone in person can sometimes be very, very challenging, and this is where technology is a beautiful thing. Yes, we have dating apps, but also Instagram, which isn't considered a dating app, can be used to help us meet people. A lot of the people that you would be interested in are probably using Instagram. So they're right there in the palm of your hands. So now you have to figure out how to utilize Instagram to make connections with these people, right? So today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to do this. So if you don't know me already, my name's Brianna. I run an Instagram page. So for my page, I give advice on singleness, dating, tips, encouragement, all of that kind of stuff. I'm also an author. So I wrote a whole book on navigating the struggles of singleness, basically learning how to thrive in your singleness as you walk towards dating and walk towards the relationship that you want. So I'm going to link my Instagram page and my book down below so that way you can go check them out. But okay, so let's get into the 5 things that you can be doing to make Instagram very, very useful beyond the fact that it's entertaining scrolling. Okay, so tip number 1 is look. When you're on Instagram, you need to be aware of who is active on Instagram. This can be looking at the content creators and the commenters. So one thing that I've noticed is there are so many people on Instagram trying to make an impact who have a position of influence. They're sharing their thoughts and beliefs, and a lot of times on things that you yourself are passionate about. Pretty much any area of interest you have is something that you can find people who are passionate about that same thing talking about it. So pay attention to these creators. And even more specifically, pay attention to the people who are commenting and following along with these creators, because those are people who likely have the same interests as you. So my husband utilized this idea by following this Instagram page. It's called Heart of Dating. Maybe you already follow it. But basically, they give all sorts of dating and singleness advice for single Christians. So he had looked at a post from this page and had the genius idea of being like, let me look and see who's commenting on this, because he knew he wanted to find a good, godly wife, and that nice Christian women probably follow and interact with a page like this. He was right. I had left a comment. I didn't even say anything profound. I just commented on the post. He went and clicked on my profile, checked me out, sent me a message, and we're married. So pay attention because it works. Okay, so tip number 2 is make your profile public. This is super, super important. Think about it. If my husband had seen me in the comments and then went to my page and saw nothing but this teeny tiny little profile picture, there would be nothing to further his interest to actually send me a message, right? I'm not really giving him anything to work with. But when he went to my page, he was able to see pictures of me, things that I'm interested in, what I'm passionate about. That was enough to get him to go, I like what I see here. Let me send this girl a message. So this is a great opportunity to put yourself out there. That's really not that complicated, right? We always talk about in dating how you want to put yourself out there, which means a lot of times going and hanging out at more social events, making yourself seen in the public eye. Because if you want to find a spouse, the first step in meeting someone is they have to know you exist. So a very simple way of letting people know you exist is just making a public profile. I've had people say that they're afraid that this isn't safe. That's why they like to keep it private. I'm not really sure what the fear is in that. The only things I can think of is if maybe you have like little kids, like your nieces and nephews posted, and you don't want their pictures shown to a bunch of people, or if you, have specifics about the place that you work, or anything that's very identifying that might, give too much personal information. Stuff like that, I could see people wanting to keep private. But personally, I would just kind of keep that stuff off my Instagram page. And if that's not an option for you, then I would also consider just making an additional profile. Like, it's not going to hurt to have an additional profile that you use simply for interacting with other posts and making yourself known. I know people would be like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. That sounds complicated. But the bottom line is, just meeting someone out at the grocery store isn't working so great for you. Like, that's where we're getting stuck in our singleness, is we're like, okay, I just want to meet someone organically. I just want to meet someone naturally. And it doesn't always necessarily happen that way. So sometimes it takes a little bit of work on our end to say, all right, I'm going to take some steps to make myself known. Easiest way to do that, make a public profile. Either the one you already have, or make an additional one if that makes you feel safer. Just showcasing some pictures of you, some of the things that you do, some of the nice places you visited, maybe some you and family, just enough that somebody on the outside could look at you, have enough of a glimpse of who you are to be like, oh, you know what? I'm interested in that person, or I can see some similarities with that person. So this is a great way to utilize your Instagram for putting yourself out there. Okay, so tip number 3 is clean it up. So like I said, you don't necessarily know who it is that's going to be looking at your page, but when they come onto your page, you want to make the best presentation of yourself possible, right? So that means maybe get rid of some of the things like pictures of your ex, or some of the crazy stuff you did back in college. Those sorts of things just don't paint maybe the most appealing picture, so just remove them from your profile. Also, this is a big bonus tip. Pay attention to who you're following. So for me, when I was dating, I would always go to a person's page. I would look at their profile. I would kind of get an idea of who they are. But sometimes a person's profile doesn't necessarily give you a full picture. I'm kind of interested, like, what does this person give their attention to? What are their interests? So the place I would always look is to see what other pages they're following. And I've heard other women at least say that they look here too. So you can very quickly find out, like, whoa, this dude is into sports, or this guy really loves his politics. You can also see things like, he follows a lot of half-naked Insta influencers. So to me, seeing stuff like that was an automatic red flag. Like, that just turns me off. No thanks. And then the interest ends right there. So go clean out your following, like who it is that you actually follow on Instagram. And I'm not saying do this just to attract another person. But what I am saying is, if you're looking for quality in a relationship and you have standards for the kind of person you want to be with, then you need to have standards for yourself, and you need to operate in quality in all that you do as well. So this means the kinds of things you watch, the kinds of things you consume, the content you're paying attention to, what you have going in front of your eyes. All of this is making up who you are, the kinds of things you think about, and the kinds of things you spend your time doing. Hold a high standard for yourself. Get rid of any junk that you're following, to really just keep yourself operating in high quality, high standards at all times. This is automatically going to be appealing to someone else who's doing the same thing. Okay, so tip number 4, take action. This one is absolutely crucial because we're talking about how to use Instagram to actually connect with people. So if we're just sitting there looking at their pages and going, wow, there are a lot of amazing people here, but we're not actually doing anything about it, we're just becoming like eloquent social media stalkers, not actually doing what we're trying to do. So this is going to mean sliding into the DMs, which I know can sound like such a scary idea, but I want to encourage you that it only takes just a few minutes of courage to send a message. I think all the time about the boldness that my husband had in actually reaching out to me. He didn't know me. We had no mutual connections. He didn't know how I'd respond, but he did it anyways, and look at the payoff. Like, I feel like now he probably thinks that it was pretty worth it to have that small amount of discomfort back then for what it's created for him now. So you can do it. And if you want more ideas and specifics on what you could do to slide into the DMs, or maybe like, what did my husband do? Things like that, let me know in the comments. I'd gladly make a detailed video on how to slide into the DMs. But also for now, I'll just tell you, just even like a simple template is simply just being like, hey, I saw your profile. I liked this and this. I would love the chance to chat with you more. And then ask them a question about themselves. Just something simply expressing that you were interested and you'd like to talk further. That's it. And then you see what happens from there. So I will say, men, a lot of this falls on you because women are expecting you to pursue them. So when you reach out to a woman and you do get a response, keep conversation going. Take an interest in her, ask her questions. It's up to you to really foster this and to take it to the next steps, whatever that means, asking for a date or whatever it means for the two of you to get to know each other more. But I will also say, women, we really, really desire for men to pursue us, and they should. But we also don't want to confuse pursuit and initiation. So initiation is simply who's the first person to start the conversation. This can be the man or the woman. So if you as a woman are seeing a man that you're interested in, you can strike up the conversation. You can initiate the contact. Yes, after that point, it's up to them to pursue you and to take the next steps. But I don't think we should get so caught up on who it is that actually starts the conversation. I've heard a lot of success stories of women who have started a conversation with a guy, or even one woman I know who actually slid into the DMs of a man who's now her husband. So it does work. We don't want to get so caught up on the details of exactly how it works. Just men and women, be bold and put yourselves out there, strike up the conversations, begin the interactions. This is such a great way of getting to meet other people that you would be interested in. Okay, so time for the final tip. Tip number 5 is be okay with no response, or what we would say is maybe rejection. This is just a part of dating. It sucks and none of us like it, but when you are interacting with other people, say you're sliding into the DMs, there's a chance some of them might never respond back to you. There's a chance that someone could respond back and say no. And even though this never feels good, we don't want it to be so crushing that it stops us from putting ourselves out there. I like to think of it this way. If we don't position ourselves for potential rejection, we don't position ourselves for potential reward, right? In sending a DM, yes, you could get a no, but also you could get a yes. And you don't want to shut down your potential to get yeses because there've been a lot of no's, or because you don't want to feel the pain of a no, right? Just think about the possibility of reward and be okay with the fact that it is just a part of dating, that not every person's going to say yes to you. You're not going to say yes to every person, because ultimately you're looking for one person that you're going to marry. So all the other interactions before you actually stand at the altar and say I do, at some point are going to end in a no. That's a lot of no's, and sometimes that feels overwhelming. But when marriage is something you desire, just keep putting yourself out there, keep searching for that yes, and don't let the fear of a no stop you from getting that yes. So that concludes my Instagram tips. Go out there, you can do it. Keep your eyes opened. Make sure that you're making yourself as presentable as possible. You're public. You're interacting with other people's posts. And then when you find someone that you actually are interested in, strike up a conversation with them. Don't hold on to it too tightly like they have to respond back to you. Just be bold. Position yourself for possible reward. And I hope this goes so well for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I cannot wait to hear your Instagram success stories.